Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this important event. The topic that you are discussing today, the right to know the truth about the involvement of different states and security forces in repressive regimes, it's essential and crucial. I will like to use my 5 minutes intervention to concentrate on the issue of enforced disappearances, the right to know the truth, and the relationship with the involvement of foreign forces. Usually when we talk about the right to know the truth in terms of enforced disappearances, we tend to concentrate on the fate or whereabouts of the person who disappeared. In other words, to understand what happened with the person who disappeared. And that's essential. It's essential for clarifying the case, to put an end to an enforced disappearance, and to give some answers and responses to the relative of those who disappear. But of course, it's not enough. It's not enough to know that the person disappeared and he or she was killed, or he or she is in detention and where the person is detained. We want to know more. And what we want to know are the circumstances in which an enforced disappearance took place. And what are the actors who intervene in the disappearance of a person. And most of the efforts, particularly in Chile and in Latin America in general, concentrated through truth commissions in one set of actors. If we read most of the report of the truth commissions in Chile and in other countries in Latin America, they clearly identify the different intelligence, security forces that participated in some of the enforced disappearances in designing this criminal plan as was defined by the Argentine courts. But there is very little discussion in most of these reports in terms of foreign intervention. There are some in some cases, but very limited. And usually when we look at these references to other actors, it tends to be limited to two particular elements. One usually is the U.S. involvement, both in terms of providing some of the ideological framework through the doctrine of national security, through the training of the armed security forces, through some political, economic, and military support to some of these military dictatorships, and two, and is more and more, there is more and more emphasis on the cooperation among the Latin American armed forces. And the best example of this is the investigation of the Plan Condor, the recent decision of the Argentine court, where the Plan Condor itself was on trial. But there are others, for instance, the Argentine military officers who provided technical advice on how to carry out enforced disappearances and other repressive practices to some governments in Central America in the late 70s, early 80s. So these are some of the examples, but there is very little official investigations in terms of other international actors, such as Israel, in the participation in this type of practices. So everything that we can do to clarify these foreign actors it's essential. Not only to learn the truth about what happened during the military dictatorships or the civil wars in Chile and in Latin America in general, but also to learn where and how these actors, including the Israeli armed and security forces, could be participating in current practices of enforced disappearances. What do we need to do? We need to do more in terms of disclosing all the documents and declassifying all the documents that could be available in Israel, but also to put more emphasis on the local efforts where those disappearances are taking place to truly understand what were the forces supporting the practices in Chile and in other Latin American countries. So what I would say is that the right to know the truth has been expanded to go from the right to know the fate or whereabouts the person to the circumstances of how the disappearance happened, to the cooperation of foreign actors, also to the participation of private actors, and one of the current efforts is to go beyond those traditional actors, particularly the cooperation among regional neighboring countries or superpowers like the US to understand other actors who were involved in this terrible practice. So I congratulate you for these efforts. I think that it's essential to understand that in the context of Chile, in the context of other Latin American countries, in the context of enforced disappearances in other parts of the world. And I wish you best of luck. Thank you very much.